Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I am Peter.
I am Brianna.
And today, you guys, we got another interview. I'm really excited. I hope you guys are too. Clearly, he's excited. But welcome to the show, Okea Eme-Akwari. I hope I got that right, man.
Yeah, you got it.
I've been practicing like for the last hour. But how are you doing, man? You play Shawn. Welcome. How you been lately?
I've been cool, man. It's been interesting ride now that the season has finally dropped.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, well, congrats to you. We've been telling everybody, cast and crew, congratulations on a very successful season. It was #1, and I think my son told me yesterday, he's like, Daddy, it fell to #2. I go, that's because the whole world watched it the first 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah, honestly. I know
But
a lot of people have been waiting.
Yeah, they really have. So now, for those that are tuning in for the first time, Brianna is joining us, obviously, and we kind of go a little bit back and forth. But okay, for preparation for the show was a little difficult because we tried to kind of dig into people's lives and see what they're like. So not a whole lot about you is out there. So we definitely want to learn about the man who plays Shawn. Before we get into talking about Cobra Kai, are you originally from the Atlanta area?
No, actually, I've lived here for most of my life, but probably just like the past 15 or 16 years or so. But when I was a kid, we kind of bounced around a lot. I was actually born in Houston, Texas, and moved to Nigeria, North Carolina, and eventually Georgia.
Oh, wow. You've really been around. I was born in Corpus Christi. I always throw that out. Shout out.
Oh, nice.
Texas. Yeah.
Okay, so when did you decide that you wanted to be an actor? When did you decide that this was something that you wanted to pursue?
Man, I've always wanted to be an actor, I say, or at least just work in television in some capacity. I have an aunt that's a graphic designer. So I always saw her working on different TV shows for like MTV, Nickelodeon, or, Oprah, whatever the case might be. So I was always interested in the TV world. But it wasn't until I kind of went to college, moved out and got a chance to explore things on my own that I really wanted to make the transition into making it into a career.
So it sounded like you mentioned that you moved around a lot. Did you take like acting classes like in high school or like drama growing up?
No, I never actually took formal classes when I was younger. When I was in high school was when I kind of started dipping my feet in. I had a lot of theater friends, so we actually tried to shoot a short film in my house a couple of different times. They were the ones that got me into extra work and this, that, and the other, just kind of introducing me to the life, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I did church plays and things, and school plays, of course, things like that, all through grade school and middle school.
Were you in Atlanta all through high school then, or were you okay? I'm listening to you that the doing school plays and Christmas plays, and I'm like, oh my God, I did the same thing. I didn't have any formal acting lessons until I was an acting major in college. So, did you go to college? Were you an acting major, or did you just go straight into working television?
I did go to college, but I still didn't do anything theatrically, officially. I was taking classes in different studios around Atlanta, but I actually went to Georgia State University and I studied neuroscience. So it was a complete departure from the theatrical world for sure. But, I get out of class and then I, take a train and jump back into a different class of a completely different variety,
You're kind of like Brianna, who the actress that played Blossom. Her name escapes me. Something Biakam.
Oh, Bialik. Mayim Bialik.
Yeah, Bialik. Yeah. Didn't she do neurosolid?
Yeah, she's a neuro something. She has multiple degrees. I think all the way up to a PhD in neuroscience.
Yeah.
So suffice it to say, you're really stinking smart.
I learned how to pretend.
If you're a neuroscientist, what are you doing in juvie?
Life has a lot of different paths, and sometimes I end up in juvie.
Yeah.
Oh God.
No, you mentioned your aunt as an inspiration because of some of the things that she did. In terms of acting, do you have any inspirations growing up of something that you like seeing on TV or movies?
Oh yeah, man. It's weird. There's a lot of shows growing up before I understood how television worked that like they shot it years prior that then I'm actually watching it. But there was a lot of shows that I just wanted to be on just because I was like, oh, I will be friends with this person or vice versa. And I think the first time was there was a show on like Disney Channel called The Famous Jet Jackson.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was
Rest
super
in
dope.
peace.
Yeah, oh man.
Rest in peace, man. That was sad. Tragic.
Yeah. But that show in particular was like, okay, I want to be on this show. And from there, I guess that was the first seed to be planted.
Oh,
But
wow.
I guess more contemporary, some of my favorite actors like Denzel Washington, Viola Davis, Leonardo DiCaprio was probably in my top three. I also love Jamie Foxx. He's, just generally as an entertainer. But yeah, those are probably in my tops.
Wow, that's quite the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, man. Something to aspire to, right?
Right. I
Yeah,
don't know anyone that doesn't love Jamie Foxx. So,
Jamie Foxx is fantastic. I grew up watching him on. He started out. Well, for me, the first time I saw Jamie Foxx was in Living Color,
mhm.
and then he had his own show. I love his albums. Fantastic music. So quite the entertainer. Finally won an Academy Award. So, yeah, Leo, Denzel, obviously Viola Davis. I love everything Viola Davis is in. Um, I think she's like the best thing of How to Get Away with Murder. Like,
Uh,
I watched
it's
that and I'm
crazy.
just like, yeah, the show is crazy. Like me and my wife, that was like the one show that we watched together. And even though like the show's a bit nuts, I think we love it because of Annalisa Keating. Like she's just like, how's she gonna fix this?
Yeah, and the way
um,
she snaps, like
yeah,
between moods, it's incredible to watch, honestly.
yeah.
So going outside your IMDb profile, because I would assume that these are all, characters that had lines. You said that you started in extra work. Do you remember some of the shows that you were a background extra on or a featured extra on?
Yeah, the first thing we ever did was there was a Ben Stiller movie. There was Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and what's his name, and Jonah Hill. It was called The Watch. It was
Oh,
really. You remember that? Yeah, it was a while
yeah,
ago. I can't really remember what the movie was about, and I don't even think I was allowed to watch it. I think it was rated R. Well, when I actually did it,
right.
but that was probably the first thing. And I remember being, it was like a football scene or something like that, and we were just outside in the middle of winter for like 9 hours, and even doing that same one scene was just amazing to me. And then me and my friends kind of like snuck into the cast area, and we like got to speak to like Vince Vaughn and the directors, and that was pretty awesome. So that because that was a good experience, I think that's why we continued on. But that movie, I was actually an extra in an MTV show called Hindsight, a USA show called like it was either Necessary Roughness or something. It was something on USA. I can't really remember all of them, to be honest. It's been a while since I did
Okay.
extra work.
Yeah, the watch. I think it was just about a neighborhood watch. These guys that get together. I vaguely remember it. I feel like 2009-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You know,
Great.
but it's a good cast. Like Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and all them. Jonah Hill. Oh my God, he was amazing in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
So and a lot of other things. 21 and 22 Jump Street.
Mhm.
That guy right there is pretty talented. So when in the Atlanta area, I noticed that it's a pretty small community. Like everyone kind of knows each other. Like
Yeah.
we'll talk to one actor and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know that person. They're in my acting class or whatever the case is. I haven't seen it, but Greenland, right? That's a movie that you were in.
Yeah.
That also had Kurt Yu, who plays George, part of the All Valley Committee, and also Rose Bianco, who plays Yaya. So they were also in that movie. And so what was your experience like on that?
That was really cool, man. That was the first like big project I ever booked. It was actually like right before Cobra Kai came along, but that like I remember I actually shot my days. I think I had the last 2 days of shooting in general. So they'd already done like the rap party and all of that. So I didn't really know anybody jumping into it, of course, but we just did a couple weekends and I got to meet, a lot of the main cast because that's who my scenes were with. But that was just a cool thing. Like on paper, on the script, I mean, I had no idea the scale of what it was going to be in the scene. But like on the day, we come in and it's me and a gang of people with like weapons and we're trying to raid this pharmacy. And that was pretty amazing to play out when the time came.
It sounds like that's how Shawn ended up in jail.
Yeah, that's actually a nice theory. I like that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to watch it now because you're in it.
Yeah.
What you were saying, Peter, about the small community and like everybody knows everybody or has been in, shows or with there's a game called Canadian Actor Bingo. And I think that we need to start a spin-off game of that called Atlanta Actor Bingo. Because as much as starting to be filmed down there, you guys are going to be showing up a whole lot. So I guess it's time to go ahead and get into it. We've kind of climbed up, the listing here. So how did you find out that this role was available? What was the audition process like for Shawn for Cobra Kai?
That one, typical scenario, I suppose. I just got the breakdown from my agents. And at that time, I was actually really excited about it because I had auditioned for the show before for like, I think it was season 1. So it'd been such a long time. And I was like, there's only so many young adult shows that film in Atlanta. So that was definitely high on my list of, I guess like goal shows. So to get the audition again, I was really excited about that. I think I got the audition turned back in within 24 hours of receiving it just because I was like, all right, time to get to work. And I just, let it rip on that. Did I answer the question? I can't really remember.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Your agents. Yeah. Now we've asked people, and some have answered, and some don't. It's entirely up to you, but I'll ask you anyway. Are you able to say what that other role was that you auditioned for in season 1?
I don't even remember. Like, no, I really don't even remember because that was what, like 2016 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They probably gave you some kind of general lines. I would imagine.
Yeah. I remember actually it was he was trying to inquire about joining Miyagi-Do. Yeah, I can't remember what the exact lines
Paul.
were. What was that?
Paul. That would be season 2. The boy that walked in and he was like, "Is this Miyagi-Do?" And then it was all just a scam to get your yard work done and all of that.
Because Miyagi-Do wasn't revealed until the end of season 1. So maybe it was season 2.
It then. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he came back. Right. Actually, Paul came back and was in the car wash scene this season too. And he got Khalil Everidge shirtless, soaking wet, covered in bubbles, rubbed all over his windshield. It was hilarious.
Yeah, his nipples is what you mean.
So be glad you got Shawn and not Paul. Basically.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been happy with either, but I'm definitely really excited to play the Shawn character. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
He is. I actually, as much as I hated him at first because it's like, you're beating up this child. Stop it. Stop beating on Robby. But then, by the end, you guys have come to, kind of an arrangement or an understanding that neither of you is a snitch and neither of you is a bitch and you're just going to go on and live your lives, right?
Yeah.
At least for now.
Right. Did you know going into it that the vast majority, actually probably all of your scenes were going to be with Tanner?
I didn't know how it was going to play out essentially, but I did know that, since I'm just in juvie, then it kind of has to be him. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if anyone was going to come in or out until I actually got the scripts for the episodes that I shot. But yeah, it was pretty much just with Tanner.
I'm not gonna lie. The very first time we see Shawn was in the trailer. I was terrified. The look that you gave, and I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody did tell me, a fellow actor on the show said, "Oh, he's a sweet person." And gosh, was it Susan? Maybe it was Susan. Because I know you know Susan. Susan's my girlfriend. Just uh, it's come out on a few of these episodes. And she joins me on live. Sometimes she'll see me live, and then I'll request her, and she jumps in. But yeah, we love Susan. But anyway, yeah. So how do you prepare for a role like that? Because everyone says that you're such a nice person, and then Shawn right here, you can flip from smiling to really upset and wanting to kick this guy's ass.
Yeah. So with that, essentially the way I'd like to approach any kind of character, I guess, is to justify their actions. So there has to be a reason why all of this is happening, and that will kind of manifest itself through the words and through the work and how the scenes will play out. Because there has to be a driving force, otherwise it's just gonna kind of fall flat. And that's something that I've learned over the years. But I made an entire biography with him, kind of up until the point of landing in juvie and however long he's been there before Robby eventually arrives, but long enough that I've of course established myself as kingpin of the entire establishment. But I'm trying to think of all the things I had to do, but that's the long and short of it. Essentially, just justifying why and who the person is.
That's the same thing that Billy did with Johnny when they were filming the first movie, and that is why we, at the end of the first movie, ended up realizing that Johnny was just a kid. It was all because of the backstory Billy had built in his head. So, can you share with us some of the backstory that you created for Shawn?
Yeah. So in the breakdown, the original audition that gives you kind of a general description of what the character is going to be and who he is, they kind of gave a little. Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say things or not. Well, I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. But essentially, I just kind of made it a situation of I'm looking at Robby, who I guess this is me that has watched the show, but he didn't exactly get the best hand dealt to him, so he just kind of made the best of it, and I kind of adopted a lot of that similarities. For me, I felt like I was kind of a foil to the Robby character, just because at the end of the day, we ended up in the same institution. So whatever I did couldn't have been miles above kicking somebody off a balcony, for instance, but more or less victims of circumstance that were out of our control. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I definitely want to see more of Shawn. So after you booked the role, and can you share the experience of coming down to the set, or did they have any more questions for you when you got there?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, speaking of just booking the role, I remember I was for the callback. I went to whatever address that they had on the information sheet, and I get out of the car and it's just like a Home Depot and a field, and I was like, this is the trap. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. So I get on the phone and try to call my agent, try to figure out what's going on, because the audition was supposed to start in 15 minutes. And then it turns out I put in Southwest or, instead of Northwest on the GPS. So it took me an hour away from where I was actually supposed to be, just because of the nature of Atlanta roads. So I ended up maybe an hour and a half late to the callback. So I already decided I wasn't going to book it. So I was like, all right, the fact that they're even going to wait for me, maybe I caught them after lunch or whatever. The fact that they're even going to wait for me, I'm just going to go in there and have some fun with the role and, just don't wait by my phone essentially. But then maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks passed, and then I got the call and I booked it. And I think a couple of days later is when I got to go into the fitting, so I can, get my costume and stuff. And they were shooting at the time, but I was able to chat with Hayden mostly, and just ask a couple questions about the nature of the role and whatnot. And he also did ask me. He asked me like if I had watched the previous Karate Kid films, and sorry, that was actually part of it for me in my process. The character kind of reminded me of certain characters that were in one of the sequel movies. So I kind of wanted to model my character a bit after them in terms of how quickly the emotions can snap. Because I figured like, hey, they might like that or see the similarities, and then that'll be used to my advantage. But
that wouldn't be Mike Barnes, would it?
That's where my head went.
No, actually.
Oh,
really?
It wasn't Mike Barnes. Yeah, it wasn't Mike Barnes. Yeah, it wasn't him.
Wow.
Sounds like you don't want to share who it was.
I mean,
it's fine. No, that's your process. So I don't want to take that
right.
from you. You don't want to share.
Head, but then after, if I say it out loud and then somebody sees it, it's like I don't see that at all.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are involved in one of the most epic fights in a season full of epic fights. How much training did you have to do with Tanner and Hito and Janelle for that? The first fight, you're just pounding on him. There's not really much but the one in the hallway.
Yeah, that was that was an intense day, man. Training wise, they're kind of on go, at all times when it comes to these shoots. So I came in for that particular fight. I came in one day before at some point to learn the choreography. I kind of ran through it with some of the stunt team, and they gave me a video, like a previs to show what they have in mind. It was like the stunt team that shot it out. So I was able to study that and study the motions on my own. And then I came to one day of training in their makeshift dojo that they have on set, just so I could, get some forms down in with one of the trainers there. But then other than that, it was just kind of the day of, between takes, we go off to the side and we drill it. Me and Tanner would drill it, and then I'll drill it with my stunt double. We might switch off just to get everyone's different feel, and work on the basics and everything.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. So did they have like a tablet or something to kind of just show you, since everything seems to be on the go?
No, honestly, it was just kind of memory. I was actually pretty surprised I was able to remember a lot of the movements. But it really is like a dance, everything is kind of cause and effect rather, for every punch that's thrown and everything. So you kind of understand where it's going to go next. You know what I mean? But no tablets, but the stunt team is always there on site to give you the drill of what's going to go on.
I say when Tanner launches up off Shawn's back up that wall and then flips over, like if you are one, I don't know if that was you or your double that was doing that, because if you're 1 foot out of where you're supposed to be, Tanner face plants right then and there. So yeah.
So me and my double Bobby, we both did the entirety of all the fights. And then, they pick and choose the footage that they want to use for the final cut, of course, just to see what came out cleaner than another take. But yeah, even that scene in particular, like, I think the spot on the wall that he flipped off of was reinforced. So if he even just moved 5 inches this way, he's going to go flying through the plaster, you know what I mean?
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah, and there's also, like, the posture that you kind of have to support him, flipping on your shoulder.
Right.
So if I were to slack off a little bit, then he could just fall off completely. So yeah, it's all pretty exact, as crazy as it might look, in action.
Oh wow, yeah, that's because we know that speaking with Jacob last week, he was talking about how him and Tanner always kind of compete for like who's the best in terms of acrobatics and things like that. So not surprised that Tanner. You mentioned he has a double, but that he can do that himself too. That is pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, and Tanner's like excited to do all that himself. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the entire cast, they want to do all their stunts. Me included. I definitely wanted to do every single bit of choreography that they had for me. But of course, they have a couple more years of training underneath their belt. But yeah, Tanner definitely, he was like, no, you sit down. I'm going to do the flip myself. This is cool. And yeah, he has a really nice intensity too, because maybe it's just part of him getting into character, getting ready for the fight. But at certain times, I can feel him like sizing me up, like, might throw a couple quick kicks my way just to play around and mess around. But yeah, I can feel that competitive spirit in him. I never got to meet Jacob, but definitely Tanner. If Jacob says it, then I believe it.
Well, Jacob gave you a bit of a shout out. He, just from watching the scenes, he said that he wished that he could have met you. That he really liked your character. So that's on that interview. I kind of want to backpedal just a smidge before we forget. You mentioned Hayden asking had you seen the previous movies. Had you seen the previous movies? Did you grow up a Karate Kid fan, or did you watch like the Jaden Smith one?
Yeah, so I actually had watched all the movies by that time. It was funny. I was flipping through channels. I think the first time I watched it, I was like a little kid, and I actually came in during the Chosen fight against Daniel, and I was like, "Oh, what is this? This looks really intense." I thought it was like some Power Rangers thing because he was wearing this yellow vest, and I was like, "Oh yes, this is my jam." But then I watched that, and I just remember it was raining out, and my heart was just like thumping. And then I guess it was a marathon because I got to watch all of the other ones that same day too. So yeah, I'd seen all of them, and then I did watch the Jaden Smith one whenever that came out a couple years back, or I guess like a decade back by now. But yeah,
Hito worked on Power Rangers, right?
Yes, actually, I it was crazy the way I found that out. The first day, I can't remember what I was doing there that day, but I needed to come in, and I think that's the first day that they ran me through my choreography, and I was actually wearing a Mighty Morphin Power Ranger shirt. Just by chance, and then at some point he was like, "Oh, that's me," and I'm like, because I didn't really understand what he was doing, and he like pointed at my shirt, and he was like, "Yeah, that guy, that's me," and I was like, I went to the bathroom, and I was like, of course I believed him, but I had to see exactly what he was talking about. So that was definitely a mind blown moment for me.
Yeah, I had a similar reaction, not because of that. Brianna and we interviewed. Brianna, it was both of us, right?
No, I didn't interview Hito.
Oh, okay. So I interviewed Hito and Janelle, and then it wasn't too long after Brianna and I and Amy went down to Atlanta, and we were just wrapping up our tour with Hayden, and just by chance, I turned around and Hito was like just walking by with a bunch of bags of chips in his hands, like heading back to the trailer. And I was just like, "Holy shit, you're Hito!" Like I just interviewed you. So we did get a chance to meet them too. Just a very lovely couple.
Very, yeah, really great people.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of a way to word this. What do you think of the reaction that you've gotten? I assume that your star meter is climbing on IMDb. I assume that you are doing, press appearances and interviews and things, like you're doing with us right now. Did you expect to walk into something this big this soon in your career?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I couldn't have really imagined it because, I mean, of course, when we shot the season, it was going to be for YouTube, and at this point, it was already known as like the flagship YouTube show and had all these accolades. So I was really excited as it was, for that. And then of course, quarantine happens, and then they announced the move to Netflix. So that kind of made my skin tingle a little bit more there. I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be even crazier then. But the reaction has been great. Like the fans have been very welcoming. There's a lot of people that are like, "Yeah, I hate you," but
of course,
like, I appreciate it. That's always something that I've thought about, is being a hated character, especially when I got the breakdown. I was like, oh, and people love Robby, and I was like, oh, that's not going to be too fun to deal with. But generally speaking, I haven't gotten a bunch of like hateful comments or this and the other. Some of them have been pretty funny. In general, but it's been a nice reception, I'll say.
Yeah. A lot of your scenes obviously involve Tanner, but you were also your episodes also had like Billy, like when you guys are serving food at the shelter, and then homeless Lynn is there too. Did you have any interactions with them when the cameras weren't rolling?
Yeah, Billy was actually there on each day that I shot. Uh, so he actually came up and introduced himself to me, and he's just a really great and energetic guy. So which was really surprising, just with the juxtaposition of the Johnny Lawrence type character. So I really wasn't yeah, so I really wasn't expecting it, but he's really cool. So we would talk, off screen here and there whenever he was around. And of course, Susan, I've known Susan for a while, so that was also cool to be able to have an episode with her as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on a little bit from Cobra Kai, I see that you are on The Walking Dead now.
Yes.
Coming up, yeah.
Yeah.
6 episodes.
Yeah,
And
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what's that feel like? I mean, that puts you on pretty well the two of the biggest shows in the world, right?
Yeah. It's tricky to think about, honestly.
Yeah, no big deal. Yeah.
No, like, big deal. I just gotta not think about that, because then, Lord, who knows what happens. But yeah, they're doing like a mini season extension, like a 6-episode season extension to tag on to the end of season 10 before season 11 kicks off. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the biggest blessings that could come out of all this mess. That was 2020, because if the show didn't get delayed, then they don't make those episodes, then I probably don't even get the audition, or who knows, maybe I could have. But I'm very thankful for that experience as well. So we got to shoot that last fall, and then they're prepping up for season 11 now, so hopefully I'll be a part of that as well, and take it from there. But yeah, it's definitely a cool experience to be part of 2 really distinct fandoms that both have their individual energies. Like the same way I'm getting Cobra Kai messages, I get a lot of Walking Dead people too, and it's crazy because they're both worldwide shows now, especially Walking Dead, and it's been around for a decade, but especially with the expansion to Netflix, Cobra Kai is taking over globally. So that's
yes, it has.
Yes, yeah, and Walking Dead comes out in February.
Yeah, that's the first episode of the little mini 6 season, February 28th, if I'm not mistaken. Oh. I don't know when season 11 drops, but that should be cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm going to be honest. Like I was a huge fan, and it was around season 8 is when I kind of not that I lost interest. I had very little time to watch all the shows that I wanted to watch. And I think that one was kind of like, for me at least, I was just like, well, all my favorite characters are dead now. Kind of like Game of Thrones. Like, well, who do I root for? So at that point, I was just like, I got to cut ties with Walking Dead, because I was also watching Fear of the Walking Dead. And yeah, there's way too many things to catch up on. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. Is there anything else as we get ready to wrap up here that you can promote that viewers can kind of keep an eye out for? I know even if your character is to come back in season 4 in Cobra Kai, I know you can't say anything, but the way the last time we do see Shawn and Robby talk, in your mind, what happens to Shawn after season 3?
I'm not entirely sure. Like the way things were breaking down, like I didn't even know I was going to be in like episode 5 until like a couple weeks before, and this, that, and the other. So I didn't know if there was going to be more coming or not. So it was just kind of like they leave the door open, and then for possibilities to fill in. And whether the big 3 are working something out with my character, I honestly don't know either. But I could see that potential. A lot of people say that me and Robby kind of ended on a more up note than a down. So I could see, if I were to be liberated at some point, I might go see what he's been up to for however long he's been out of jail compared to me.
Brianna, can you imagine Shawn under Kreese's Cobra Kai?
Epic.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I could see Shawn and Kyler kind of going at
Oh,
each
yeah.
other for that number 2 spot under Robby.
Yeah.
Pretty hard. That would be like worse than the Brooks beatdown, I think.
Well, she still got Tori too.
Right.
So that's
I
that's
don't know.
gonna
I
be
think you could take her. I think you could. I think Shawn could take Tori.
She got that kickboxing going on, man. I feel like I could take Kyler. Tori, that
and
might be
Oh,
nunchucks.
definitely you could take Kyler.
I mean, I don't know the extent of his wrestling knowledge or whatever. I've seen Tori in action now, but Kyler, slight work.
Yeah.
He's if you're talking strictly wrestling, he's definitely state qualifier material, probably state placer, but he's dirty as crap.
He is, but in wrestling, they also kind of work within the what's it called, like their weight ranges.
Oh yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know him in person, but I feel like I might outsize him a bit. So I wonder.
A little bit, yeah.
Who,
Yeah.
Kyler?
Well, yeah, and the weight divisions are 6 pounds. So, like, if he outweighs him by 12 pounds, he would actually be 2 classes above him.
And I'm actually heavier than I look. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a dense boy.
Now, pardon me. The last comment I want to make is with the show, there's so many different characters, and they obviously have so many nods to pop culture, from the 70s, to current time. I think this is extremely a reach, but have you seen Boy Meets World?
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone always says like, well, Tanner looks like Shawn Hunter, and your character's name is Shawn. I'm like, oh, I don't know, maybe it was a bit of a nod. Yeah, so that was it.
Actually talked about that as well, because apparently that's a comment that he gets pretty often. But yeah, I used to love that show. That would be a pretty interesting throwback if that's really what they did. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past them if that was the case.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
I would absolutely put that in the realm of possibility. My only last comment is welcome to the fandom, and thank you for giving us Shawn. We love to hate him. We hate to love him. And
I don't know,
here's
man.
hoping that we see him again. So
I don't hate him. I think he's a badass.
Well, he's definitely a badass.
I mean, see, my thing is like, I totally get what you're saying, Brianna, about like love to hate him, but like the way Robby is going, like I'm kind of rooting more for Shawn than I am Robby. Just to see more. Robby's being a bit of a dick right now.
Just a bit. Alone, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I try to justify. I cut him some slack because same. I feel like I see a lot of similarities in our characters, but I do appreciate the welcome, definitely.
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you so much and thanks for coming on with us. I know it was kind of a super short notice, but thank you so much for working with us and getting on here.
Yeah, I'm glad we can make it work. It's been nice.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, thank you so much. So thanks for everybody that's tuning in. Make sure you guys follow him on social media if you don't already. And that's going to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.